What if you could stop guessing what content work on TikTok and use real data to find out? In this video, I'll show you exactly how I scraped TikTok data using Happify and turned it into useful insights using Power BI. No code, no stress. As creators, businesses, marketers, we are constantly trying to find out what type of content resonates more with our target audience. But most times we are just guessing. So I decided to try something different. I used Apify to scrape real TikTok data based on my need, which is data analytics, cleaned it and analyzed it in Power BI to understand and see what type of content actually perform. So this isn't just for content planning. It's also perfect for data projects. So let's say you're a data analyst, you're trying to build data projects for your data portfolio. You can scrape real data like TikTok data, Facebook data, YouTube data and build a project from it, which can help you stand out to recruiters. It's also perfect for social media analysis or even market research. And yes, you can do it too. So to start scraping, you go to apify.com. Apify is a full stack platform for web scraping and it has over 5,000 actors. Now, these are actors that let you scrape social media data and other types of web data. But the actor that we want to focus on is the TikTok scraper. So I'm going to click on the TikTok scraper and then it's going to take me to the TikTok scraping page to get started. So here you can see in the introduction that it extracts data from TikTok videos, hashtags and users. You can use URLs or search queries to scrape TikTok data. Interesting. So below it has a readme where it tells you what the TikTok scraper does. It also shows you how you can scrape TikTok with the TikTok scraper. So first you need to create an Apify account before you get started, and creating an Apify account is totally free. It also gives you the inputs that you can use to feed in your scraper to get the information that you need. It also gives you a list of ideas on how you can use the data extracted from TikTok. You can use it to conduct sentiment analysis, to predict emerging influencers to collaborate with, to do market research and a lot more. Now to get started, I'm going to click on the try for free button at the top right to start scraping the TikTok data. So here we are in the input section of the TikTok scraper where you give it specific keywords related to your niche to get the exact data that you need for your analysis. And because my target audience are people in the data community, I'm going to be using keywords that are popular in the data community. So I want videos that have these specific hashtags that I'm inputting to be returned. So the first hashtag I'm going to input is data analyst. So data analyst is a trending hashtag, not just a trending hashtag, it's a trending term in the data community. I'm going to click on add to add more hashtags. So another way you can add hashtags all at once is by clicking on bulk edit and just inputting all your hashtags and letting each hashtag be on its own line. So I'm going to include all of the hashtags that are popular or common in the data community. And when I'm done, I'm just going to click on the set button below. The hashtags are sorted. Now the next thing is to set a limit on the number of videos per hashtag. So here by default we have 100, but I'm going to reduce it to 20. Okay, so let's just keep it simple. And at the bottom we have videos from specific profiles. So here you can input the exact profile you want to return their video content, but I'm going to skip this. And then I'm going to go to the search option and input some specific search queries. So the first query I'm going to input is data analysis. Like I said, data analysis is one very common term in the data niche. And then I'm going to add another search query. So let's say how to learn data analysis. I can decide to add more, but let's just keep it simple for the purpose of this video. And then for the number of profiles per query, let's keep it 5 so that everything is just kept simple and minimal. And then when I'm done inputting all of the keywords that I want, I'm going to click on the save and start button below so that the scraper starts running and getting me the data that I want. So now the scraper is doing its work, is running, is scraping TikTok and getting me the data that I need. And here we have the data it returned the profiles of the people who posted this content, the text content of the videos, the share count, the play count, which is the total number of views, the comments on the post, the bookmarks, and so many useful metrics that we need to get started in our analysis. It also returned fields like the music that was used, the music author, and it returns something very important, which is the create time, the time that the post was created or posted. Another important field it returned is the video URL. So when I click on this video URL, it takes me to the video of the content. Here I can see the type of content, what it was all about, and this can be an inspiration for deciding what my next content should be. So there are other fields, but this is just the preview. To export the data, I'm going to click on the export button at the top right, and it shows this pop-up. Here I can select the exact format I want my data to be exported as. So I'm going to select Excel because it just returns the data in a structured way. Here you can select the fields or columns you want to be returned in your data. I'm not going to be specific. I'm going to return everything and click on download. This is what the data currently looks like in Microsoft Excel. Now with this view, I know what I need to clean. So I'm going to be using one of my favorite data analytics tool, Power BI, to clean and analyze the data. So I'm going to open up the data in Power BI. I'll click on data and click on open, then select the data and then click on transform data. So if this is your first time seeing Power BI, there are tons of YouTube videos that shows you how you can make use of Power BI to clean, transform and analyze data. From the bottom left, I see that I have 536 columns. There is no way I'm going to make use of all of these columns. So I'm going to select only the columns that I need to clean, transform and analyze. To select the columns, I'll click on the small table icon and then click on choose columns and then unselect all of the columns that I don't need. So the first thing that I'm going to select is the heart, which is the total likes on the post. I'll also select the author name, the author profile URL. I'll select the collect count, which is the total number of saves or bookmarks on a post. I'll select the comment count, which is the total number of comments. I will select the create time, which is very good for time-based analysis. I'll select the hashtags, also very important to select the hashtag so that I can know the hashtag popularity across posts. So I'll be very careful here to only select the hashtags that have name. So you can see the hashtag started from 0, the name, #1, the name. So if you are doing this, please make sure that you do the same thing, okay? Select only the hashtags with the name in front of them. So that is what I'm going to be doing, and we have a lot of hashtags here. So I think this is going to, okay, so the last is 21. I'm also going to select other things like the play count. So the play count is simply the total number of views. I will select the share count, which is the total number of shares. I'll select the text, which is the text on the post. And lastly, I'll select the web video URL so that we can always click on the video link to the post to see the type of content that it was and probably start creating content from that inspiration. So now there is something I noticed in this column. I can see that we have duplicates. From the bars, you can see that some bars are higher than some bars. So I'm going to right click on the web video URL column and remove the duplicates. The next thing I'm going to be doing is duplicating this data, that is making a copy of this data. So I'm going to go to the data field by the left and right click on it and then click on duplicate. So one data is going to be for the hashtag based analysis. The second data is going to be for the post based analysis. So for the hashtag, I'm going to be analyzing popular hashtags across posts. Still in the hashtag data, I'm going to only select the columns that I need for the hashtag based analysis. So I'll be unselecting all other columns and only selecting the hashtags and the text associated to each post. You might be wondering why we have a lot of hashtags. That is because a post can contain multiple hashtags, which is fine. These hashtags are split into their own individual columns so that we can perform the analysis that we want to perform. So I'm going to click on OK now that we've got that sorted. The next thing I'm going to do is move the text column to the beginning of this table. Because of the analysis that I want to do, I would need to unpivot the hashtags from their multiple columns into rows so that for each post we are seeing the hashtags that are associated to them in separate rows rather than in a single row. So to do this, I'm going to select the text column, then go to the transform tab and then click on pivot order columns. So I'm on pivoting other columns, and other columns are the hashtag column. So that is why I'm only selecting the text column. Before I click on that, let me just give you an example. So I'm going to select the first row. So this first row contains this text, and these are the hashtags that are in the text. So because I need to analyze hashtag popularity, I can't just analyze it from the text. I have to break the hashtags into separate rows so that I know how many times each hashtag appeared in a text. So I'm going to click on the text column again and then click on pivot order columns. So now you see what we have. Wow. So now I'm going to rename the value column as hashtags because this column contains all our individual hashtags. After doing that, I'm going to remove the attribute column. The attribute column is the hashtag name of our individual hashtags. So because it is irrelevant, I'm going to right click and click on remove. Now we are done with the hashtag table. I'm going to the post/engagement table and then select only the columns that I need. So I'm going to click on the small table icon and click on choose columns and unselect all other columns and select the heart, which is the total likes, the author name, the profile URL to the author, the collect count, the comment count, the share count, the play count, the text, the web video URL, and then click on OK. Now these are all the columns that I need to analyze the post and the engagement. So I'm going to start moving columns to where I need them to be. So this is not a compulsory thing. I just like keeping everything organized. So remember I said we are going to perform time-based analysis, and to do that I'm going to be making use of the create time column. So now the create time column is currently a date and time. So I'm going to right click on it and then duplicate. In my duplicated column, I'm going to click on the left icon of the column and then click on time to change it to time data type. And then I'm going to right click on the column and then go to transform to extract just the hour from the time. And voila. And then the next thing I'm going to do is change the column name. So let's give it something more meaningful. So I'm going to change it to hours. So if you notice, the time is in the 24-hour format, that is from 0 to 23. So the next thing I'm going to do is create an indicator to let us know when it is AM or PM. So I'm going to go to the top of my Power Query and then click on the add column. So from there, I'm going to click on conditional column and then I'll change the name to AM/PM. So we all know that when the 24-hour clock says 12, it means 12 p.m. So 12 to 23 is in the PM category, and any number or when the time is less than 12, that means if it is 0 to 11, it means it is in the AM category. So that is what I'll be doing in the conditional column. All right, so I'm going to say when the column, our hours column is less than 12, let it be AM, otherwise let it be PM. Then I'll click on OK. So if you're new to this, it's fine. I understand. I was once there. So this is simply just me making use of my arithmetic operators. So if you don't know anything about it, there are tons of videos on YouTube and free resources online that explains what arithmetic operators are and how to apply them to real life situations. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is creating another hours column which shows the hours in 12-hour format. Now the reason is because most people can understand the 12-hour format better than the 24-hour format. Left to me, I prefer the 24 hours format, but let us be considerate for the people who do not understand. Doing this is not hard at all. So in the 24 hours format, 0 means 12 a.m., 13 means 1 p.m., 14 means 2 p.m. So that's what we're going to be working on. So first, I'm going to change the data type of our AM and PM indicator to text, and then I'm going to go over to the add columns and then click on conditional columns. And the first thing I'll be doing is changing the column name from column to hours in 12. That is the 12 hours format of our time. And then I'll come down to the column name. So which column is our condition going to be based on? It's going to be based on our original 24 hours column. The column is equal to 0. We already have the AM/PM indicator to let us know if it is AM or PM. So next, I'm going to set more conditions. If the hours column is equal to 13, that means it is 1 p.m. If the hours column is equal to 14, it is 2 p.m. So I'm going to do that right until I get to hour 23, which is 11 p.m. Alright, so now that this is sorted, we can see that we now have our 12 hours format. So when it is 0, when the 24 hour is 0, it means it is 12 a.m. When it is 13, it means it is 1 p.m. and so on and so forth. So we also need to specify that if there are values in the 24-hour format column that were not specified in this condition, keep those values, because those values are basically 1 a.m., 2 a.m. to 11 a.m., which is also the same for the 12-hour format. So it's also correct. I'm going to click on OK so that we have our 12-hour format column. And after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is select the 12-hour format and the AM and PM indicator, right click and click on merge column. So I'm going to give the merge column name time. Okay, and then the separator should be none. Then I'll click on OK. Now that we have our time in the 12-hour format, we are good to go. So I'm just going to go back to the home tab and then click on close and apply so that we can start analyzing what we have in our TikTok data. So if you look at the right hand side of this view, you'll notice that our data set has been loaded. So we have the hashtag and the data. So I will head over to the table view, which is the second icon by the left, to just check our data. And then another thing that I want to do is to check if this data is modeled correctly. This is part of the data analysis process. So what I want to do is to check the modeling. I can see that it has one to many relationship, but it is on single cross filter direction. So I'll change it to both and then click on apply. The reason I'm changing it to both is so that the filter can come from both sides of the table. So I'll head over to the visualization pane and let's start visualizing. So the first thing that I want to see is the key metrics, which is the total comments, the total posts, the total views, the total saves. And for that, I'll be using a card visual. And then I'm going to click on the text or drag and drop the text on the data. So I'll click on the drop down and change it to count so that it counts all the text. So this is the total number of posts. So I like to change the name. So let's give it total posts. And then I'm going to do a little bit of formatting. So I'll go to the layout and increase the number of the maximum cards to let's say 8, okay, so that we have enough of space. And then I'm going to go to the colored values and decrease the size a bit to 25. So we are good to go. I can add other metrics. So I'm going to add things like the play count, which is the total number of views. So I'm going to drag and drop that on the data field. And then I'm going to change the name from sum of play count to something more reasonable and meaningful. So let's say total views. Proper naming of your metrics is very important. It helps users understand better. So I'm going to add the collect count. All right. So the collect count is basically the total number of bookmarks or saved videos. So I'm going to change the name to bookmarks. Okay. So that is good to go. And then I am going to include the comment count, which is the total number of comments on a post or post. So I'm going to change the name to total comments. And this is it. Okay, so these are all the metrics: total posts, total views, bookmarks, and comments. So the next thing that I want to analyze is the average views on posts that contain specific hashtag. And for this, I'm going to use a column chart. You can call it a column chart or a bar chart. You're still good to go. Then I'll go to the hashtag table. All right, that is where the hashtags are. You know, I've broken down the hashtags. So I'm going to drag and drop the hashtag on the Y axis, and then I'll go to the data table because I want to analyze the average views on posts with specific hashtags. I'm going to drag and drop the play count on the x-axis, and then because I'm focusing on the average, I'll click on the drop down and select average, then change the name to average views. Okay, so let's keep our title meaningful so that our users understand what it is our visuals are saying. And then I'm just going to adjust and reduce the size of my bar chart so that this page also accommodates other visuals. Let's keep it simple. The next thing that I want to analyze is the average number of views on posts based on the time it was created. To do this, I'm going to use a combo chart, which is a line and stacked column chart. So I'm going to select that. Now, while this analysis is important, please do not just base your engagement metrics solely on the time a post was created. Okay, there are other factors. Factors like the sounds used. Most times when you use trendy sounds on TikTok, you tend to be more visible in that period when the sound is trending. Other factors include the type of hashtags that you're using and the content of your text. To begin, I'm going to drag and drop the time on the x-axis and then drag and drop the play count on the y-axis. Then right at the bottom, I'll click on the drop down and change it to average so that we get the average number of views. So if you notice the chart, it is sorted based on the highest average number of views first. So I'm going to try to sort it myself by clicking on the ellipsis at the top and then go to sort axis and click on ascending, but it is still not giving me what I want. It is still not giving me the time in a chronological order. So I'm going to go to the table, then click on the time column. What you might not know is that in Power BI, you can sort the values in a column by the values in another column. So now I'm going to be sorting the values in the time column by the values in the 24-hour column. All right, because the values in the 24-hour column, it starts from 0 to 23, so it is going to sort our values in the time column based on that. So I'm going to click on the sort by column button at the top and then sort it by the hours. Now that this is sorted, I'm going to go back to my report view, and then on the chart I'll click on the three ellipses and then go to sort axis. I'll be sorting by time and in ascending order. Now we can see that the time is now sorted in ascending order from 12 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then I'll come down to the column y-axis and change the name to average views. Remember, we need to keep our title simple and meaningful so that our users understand what exactly we're trying to do. So now we're not going to stop here. Okay, like I said, don't just base your engagement metric on the average number of views by the time a post was made. Another reason why I like Power BI is the interactivity it gives to me. So when I click on a particular time, I get to see the hashtags that were used on the post that were posted at that time. So now we're not going to stop here. Remember, I said that you shouldn't just base your analysis on the time that a post was made. Another thing that I want to add to this visual is the number of posts that were made at this different time. So I'm going to drag and drop the text on the line y-axis. So that is the line on the y-axis. All right, so I'm going to make sure that it is in count. Okay, so this will help me to see the time that people tend to post more, okay, and how it affects the number of engagement. What I'm doing currently is just adjusting these visuals. So the last visual is going to be a table. I'm going to select the table and just adjust it a bit. So this table is going to show us the post, its text content, the total number of views on the post, the total number of bookmarks, or let's say how many people saved your post. You know, when people save your post, it means that it resonates a lot with them and they are actually interested in what you are giving. They would like to watch the video again. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the text in the table and just adjust it a bit to create room for other things that I'll be putting in the table. Then I'm going to put in the play count. I'll change the name to total views. Okay, so that let's keep it simple, let's keep our title simple. Another thing that I'm going to be adding to this visual is the total number of bookmarks. So I'm going to include the collect count and then change the name to bookmarks. It tells us if people are actually interested in what we are doing. And then I'm going to include the web video URL so that we can always click on the link and then it takes us to the exact video to see what people are actually posting. So right now you can see that the web video column is not a clickable column. So I'm going to go over to my data view or my table view by clicking on the second icon. Okay, so you can see that the table view, and then I'll click on the web video URL, then go to the data category. So I'm going to categorize it as a web URL. So now see what happens after doing this. When I go back to the report, you can see that now it is a clickable link. I can always click on it and then it takes me to the video of the content. So I can draw inspiration from the video and start creating similar content because now I know what type of content interests them the most. So for you to be able to click on your links in Power BI, you need to turn on your internet. Okay, now I'm done with the analysis. For you it can be more, you can decide to add more things based on what you want to analyze from your TikTok data. The next thing that I'm going to be doing is formatting these visuals so that they are more presentable. And after formatting, I have this, so don't worry, in a coming video I'll show you how I formatted the visuals. From these findings, I can now start understanding what my target audience engages with the most, and now I can start creating content in that line. To keep this video short, simple and straight to the point, I use the Amplify TikTok scraper to scrape just a few data. In your case, you can decide to scrape more so that you can get better insights. Now that you've seen how to scrape, clean and analyze TikTok data, you're no longer creating content in the dark. You can start creating content more strategically. So whether you're a content creator, a marketer, a business, a company, or a data enthusiast, this workflow gives you the power to make smarter data-driven decisions and without writing a single line of code. So if you found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more real-world data workflow like this. If you want to try out Amplify for yourself, check out the link in the description and also in the comments to get started. It's all there.